I'm Annie, and this is Daniel Bennett's story, a 38 years old man. So kindly don't mind, I am speaking on behalf of Daniel Bennett, as a husband. My name is Daniel Bennett, I am 38 years old. And for 12 years, I believed I had the happiest marriage anyone could ask for. The funny thing about lies is that they don't always sound like lies. Sometimes they sound like, I have another business trip next week. Sometimes they sound like, don't wait up. My flight lands late. And sometimes they last so long that they become part of your everyday life. Looking back now, I wonder how I missed it. Or maybe I just didn't want to see it. My wife, Emily, was smart, kind, and hardworking. She worked as a regional sales manager for a medical supply company. At least, that was what everyone believed. Her job meant traveling twice every month, usually for 3 or 4 days at a time. I never complained. Someone had to stay home with our children. We had 2 wonderful kids together. Our daughter, Lily, was 11. Our son, Noah, had just turned 8. They were my whole world. Every time Emily packed her little blue suitcase, the children would hug her tightly. "When will you be back, Mommy?" Noah always asked. Welcome to a new video. I hope you'll enjoy the story. Share your city name from where you are watching me in the comments section. Thanks. Now let's get back to the story. Emily would kneel down, kiss his forehead, and smile. Before you know it. Then she would hug Lily, wave at me, climb into her car, and disappear down our street. The house always felt quieter after she left. Those days became our routine. I made breakfast. I packed lunches. I helped with homework. I attended school meetings. I sat through dance recitals. I coached Little League. If one of the kids woke up with a fever in the middle of the night, it was always me sitting beside their bed with cold towels and medicine. I never kept score. Marriage wasn't supposed to be about keeping score. At least, that's what I believed. When Emily came home from her trips, she always brought little gifts. A stuffed bear from Chicago. Chocolate from Seattle. A snow globe from Denver. The kids loved them. I loved seeing the smiles on their faces. Sometimes I teased her. I think they love your souvenirs almost as much as they love you. She laughed every time. I have to stay their favorite parent somehow. I laughed too. I wish I hadn't. The years passed quickly. Birthdays. Christmas mornings. Family vacations. Soccer games. Graduations from elementary school. Life looked perfect from the outside. Even our neighbors used to say we were lucky. "You two make marriage look easy," Mrs. Harper told us one summer evening while we were grilling burgers in the backyard. Emily squeezed my hand. "We're just blessed." Those words stayed with me for years. Blessed. Funny how one word can become painful later. There were little things that didn't make sense, but I always found excuses for them. Emily never wanted me driving her to the airport. "It'll just make you late for work," she'd say. She always insisted on taking her own car. She paid for every trip with her personal credit card before her company reimbursed her. I never looked at the statements. Why would I? Trust means not checking every little thing. At least, that's what I thought. Sometimes she'd come home looking exhausted. Not the kind of tired you get from meetings. A different kind. Like she'd been carrying something heavy that no one else could see. I'd rub her shoulders while she sat quietly at the kitchen table. "Tough trip?" She'd nod without looking at me. "Really tough." Then I'd make her favorite pasta. We'd eat dinner with the kids. Life would return to normal. Or what I believed was normal. One night, about 5 years before everything fell apart, I woke up around 2 in the morning. Emily wasn't in bed. I found her sitting alone on the back porch. She was crying. Softly. Quietly. Like she didn't want anyone to hear. I wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. What's wrong? She quickly wiped away her tears. Nothing. You don't have to hide things from me. She forced a smile. I'm just stressed about work. I believed her. I even hugged her tighter because I felt sorry for her. Now I know those tears had nothing to do with work. They were for someone else. Someone I didn't even know existed. Years later, the truth finally caught up with us. Not because Emily confessed. Not because I found hidden messages. Not because I hired a detective. The truth arrived after she was gone. 3 months ago, Emily died in a terrible highway accident while driving home from what everyone believed was another business trip. Our children lost their mother. I lost my wife. For weeks, I could barely breathe. The funeral was packed. Friends. Family. Coworkers. Neighbors. Everyone spoke about how generous and loving Emily had been. I believed every word. Then, just as the service was ending, I noticed a young man standing near the back of the church. He looked about 20 years old. His eyes were red from crying. In his hands, he held an old photograph. He kept staring at Emily's casket. Then he whispered one word that turned my entire life upside down. Mom. For a second, I thought I had heard him wrong. The church was silent except for quiet crying. People were hugging each other. The pastor had just finished his final prayer. My children stood beside me, holding my hand so tightly that my fingers hurt. Then I heard it again. Mom. The young man's voice cracked as tears rolled down his face. He wasn't looking at anyone else. He was looking only at Emily's casket. I felt my heart pound inside my chest. Maybe he had mistaken her for someone else. Maybe he was confused. I took a slow breath and walked toward him. When I got closer, I saw the picture in his hands. It wasn't just a photo of Emily. It was a picture of Emily holding a little boy who looked about 6 years old. She was smiling the biggest smile I had ever seen. The little boy had his arms around her neck. Written across the bottom in faded black ink were 4 simple words. My mom and I. The room suddenly felt smaller. I stared at the picture, unable to speak. The young man noticed me looking. I'm sorry, he whispered. I didn't mean to interrupt. My voice barely worked. Where did you get that picture? He looked surprised. I've had it my whole life. I pointed at the woman in the photo. This is Emily Bennett. He nodded slowly. I know. I felt dizzy. Who are you? He looked at me with confused eyes. My name is Ethan Parker. There was a long silence. Then he said the words that changed everything. I'm her son. It felt like the floor disappeared beneath me. No, I said quickly. That's impossible. His face fell. I wish it was. I looked at the photograph again. It wasn't fake. It wasn't edited. Emily looked younger, maybe 20 years old, but it was clearly her. My stomach twisted. Emily only had 2 children. He blinked. I thought she had 3. Neither of us spoke. We simply stared at each other like 2 strangers trying to solve the same impossible puzzle. Behind me, I heard footsteps. Emily's older sister, Karen, hurried toward us. The moment she saw Ethan, all the color drained from her face. Oh no, she whispered. Ethan looked relieved. Aunt Karen. She froze. Then she closed her eyes. That one little moment answered a question I hadn't even asked yet. They knew each other. I turned toward Karen. You know him? She didn't answer. Karen. Still nothing. My voice became louder. You know this young man? Finally, she nodded. Yes. The word hit harder than a slap. My hands began shaking. Who is he? She looked at Ethan before looking back at me. I think we should talk somewhere private. No. Several family members had started watching us. I didn't care. You answer me now. Karen's eyes filled with tears. Rachel. Who is he? She covered her mouth for a second before speaking. He's Emily's son. The world stopped. Every sound disappeared. I couldn't hear the people around me. I couldn't hear the church organ. I couldn't even hear my own breathing. Only those 4 words. Emily's son. I stepped backward. No. Karen nodded sadly. Yes. You're lying. I wish I was. I looked at Ethan again. He wasn't angry. He wasn't smiling. He looked just as heartbroken as I felt. I didn't know. He said quietly. I thought you already knew about me. My knees became weak. I grabbed the back of a church pew to keep from falling. Lily rushed over. Mom? Her frightened voice snapped me back to reality. I quickly forced a smile that didn't feel real. I'm okay, sweetheart. But I wasn't. Not even close. Karen glanced at the children. Please, not here. I looked at my kids. They were watching every second of this. Noah had no idea what was happening, but he knew something was wrong. Children always know. I swallowed the lump in my throat. Take the kids outside, I told my cousin Melissa. She nodded without asking questions. As soon as they left the church, I turned back toward Karen. You have exactly 1 chance. She looked down at the floor. When Emily was 19, she had Ethan. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She gave birth before we met? Karen nodded. Yes. And she never told me? Another slow nod. Who else knew? Karen hesitated. I already hated the answer before she spoke. Our parents knew. I felt sick. My parents? No. She shook her head. Ours. I took another breath. Who else? She whispered so quietly I almost didn't hear her. I knew. My eyes filled with tears. For how long? Karen looked directly at me. For 12 years. 12 years. The same number of years Emily had traveled twice every month for her so-called business trips. The pieces suddenly began fitting together. The trips. The secret credit card. The tired eyes. The tears on the porch. None of it had been about work. Every trip. Every single one. Had been to visit the son she had hidden from me. I looked at Ethan, still holding that old photograph against his chest. Then I asked the question I was suddenly terrified to hear answered. Did she visit you often? Ethan looked down at the old photograph for several seconds before answering. Then he nodded. She comes every month. I closed my eyes. Every month. For 12 years. The words echoed inside my head like thunder. How often? I asked again, hoping I had misunderstood. Usually twice a month, Ethan said quietly. Sometimes she'd stay for a few days. Sometimes just one night if she couldn't get away any longer. Twice a month. Exactly like Emily's business trips. My hands started trembling. Karen reached toward me. Rachel. I stepped away. Don't. She lowered her hand. I can explain. No, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. You've had 12 years to explain. The church had almost emptied now. Only a few people remained, quietly talking near the doors. None of them knew that my entire marriage had just been turned upside down. I looked back at Ethan. Where do you live? About 3 hours away. In Maple Ridge. 3 hours. That was close enough for Emily to drive there and back during every fake business trip. What did she tell you about me? Ethan looked confused. She said you were a good person. I laughed. It wasn't a happy laugh. Did she tell you she was married? Yes. Did she tell you she had children? Yes. My heart hurt even more. So she told you about us? He nodded. She carried pictures of Lily and Noah in her wallet. She talked about them all the time. I stared at him. Emily had spoken about our children. She loved them. That much I never doubted. But she had hidden another child from them. From me. From everyone who mattered. Did she ever tell you why she kept you a secret? Ethan looked toward Karen. His silence answered before his words did. I thought you already knew. I turned sharply toward Karen. You told him that? She nodded slowly. Emily believed she was protecting everyone. Protecting who? You. I almost couldn't believe what I was hearing. She lied to me for 12 years to protect me? Karen's eyes filled with tears. It wasn't that simple. Then make it simple. Karen took a deep breath. When Ethan was born, Emily was very young. His father disappeared before he was even born. Emily couldn't take care of him alone. I listened without saying a word. Our parents convinced her to let another family raise him. I looked at Ethan. They adopted you? He shook his head. No. My grandparents raised me. Karen nodded. Our parents became his legal guardians. Everything suddenly became even stranger. So Emily's parents raised her son? Yes. And she visited him in secret? Karen whispered, yes. I rubbed my forehead. None of it made sense. If her parents were raising him, why hide him from me? Karen didn't answer. Instead, Ethan spoke. My grandmother always said people wouldn't understand. I looked at him. What people? You. His answer hurt more than he realized. For 12 years, someone had decided what I could handle. No one had even asked me. Karen wiped away a tear. Emily wanted to tell you. When? So many times. Then why didn't she? Karen looked at the church floor. Because every time she tried, our mother stopped her. I frowned. Stopped her? She kept saying that if you found out, you'd leave Emily. I couldn't believe it. So your mother decided that lying was better? Karen nodded slowly. Our mother said some secrets should stay buried. I felt anger growing inside me. Not loud anger. The quiet kind. The dangerous kind. I thought about every birthday Emily had missed because of a conference. Every school play. Every anniversary dinner she had canceled. Every excuse. Every suitcase. Every goodbye kiss. They had all been built on one enormous lie. Then another question came into my mind. Did my children know him? Karen looked surprised. No. Did Emily ever bring Ethan near our family? Ethan answered. Only once. I looked at him. It was about 6 years ago. He swallowed hard. We went to the county fair. I searched my memory. The county fair. 6 years ago. Emily had told me she was attending a medical conference in Chicago that weekend. Instead, she had been eating cotton candy with another son. My chest tightened. I was there, I whispered. Ethan looked confused. What? Our family went to that fair. His eyes became wide. We did? I nodded slowly. Lily won a giant stuffed panda that day. His mouth slowly fell open. I remember seeing a little girl carrying a huge panda. Neither of us spoke. Thousands of people had walked through that fair. Emily had somehow managed to spend time with both of her families on the very same day. Close enough to see each other. Close enough to almost meet. Yet separated by one terrible secret. Then Ethan reached into his jacket pocket. "I think, there's something you should have." He carefully pulled out a small white envelope. Across the front, written in Emily's familiar handwriting, were 5 words that made my blood run cold. "For Rachel. When she's ready." I couldn't stop staring at the envelope. It was small, plain, and slightly wrinkled around the edges, as if someone had carried it for a long time. Emily's handwriting was easy to recognize. I had seen it on birthday cards, grocery lists, and little notes she left in the kitchen. But these words felt different. "For Rachel, when she's ready." My hands shook as I reached for it. "When did she give this to you?" I asked. Ethan held on to the envelope for one more second before letting go. "About 6 months ago." 6 months. That meant Emily had planned for something. "What did she say?" He looked toward the empty rows of church seats. "She said if anything ever happened to her, she'd come to the funeral. She told me to give this to you only after the service." I swallowed hard. "So she expected you to be here?" "Yes. And she knew I'd meet you." He nodded. "I think so." The weight of the envelope suddenly felt much heavier. Karen whispered, "Rachel, maybe you should wait before reading it." I turned toward her. "You've already asked me to wait for 12 years. She looked down without another word. I carefully opened the envelope. Inside was a folded letter. There was also a small key taped to the back. It looked like the key to a safe deposit box. My heart beat faster. I unfolded the letter. The first line almost made me stop breathing. "Rachel, if you're reading this, then I've run out of time to tell you the truth myself." Tears blurred the words. I wiped my eyes and kept reading. "First, I need you to know that I loved you. Every single day of our marriage. None of this happened because I loved you less." I felt anger and sadness fighting inside me. How could those words be true? How could someone love me while lying to me every month for 12 years? I continued reading. "I know you're wondering who Ethan is. He is my son. I gave birth to him when I was 19 years old. That part is true. But the rest of the story isn't what you think." I stopped. Karen looked nervous. "What does it say?" I ignored her. I kept reading. "My parents told everyone that Ethan was their child. They said it was the only way to protect our family's reputation. I was young, scared, and alone. I believed them." I looked up at Ethan. His eyes were fixed on the floor. He had probably heard this story many times. The letter continued. "When I met you years later, I wanted to tell you everything before we got married. I truly did. But my mother begged me not to. She said you would never marry a woman with a secret like mine. She said Ethan would lose everything if the truth came out." I lowered the letter. My voice was quiet. "She wanted to tell me." Karen nodded. "I told you. I wasn't ready to forgive anyone. Not yet. Maybe not ever." But hearing Emily's own words hurt in a different way. She hadn't hidden Ethan because she didn't love him. She had hidden him because she had been trapped in a lie that started long before she met me. Still, she had chosen to keep lying. Every single month. I looked back at the letter. The business trips were never business trips. They were the only way I could be a mother to Ethan without destroying the family I built with you. A tear landed on the paper. I quickly wiped it away. The next sentence hurt the most. "Every time I came home, I hated myself for lying to you. But every time I looked at Ethan and then looked at Lily and Noah, I couldn't find a way to tell the truth without hurting all of you." The church was completely silent now. Only the 4 of us remained. I turned the page. There was one final paragraph. The small key with this letter opens safe deposit box 214 at First Community Bank. Everything you need to understand my choices is inside. Please don't open it alone. Take Ethan with you. He deserves to know the whole truth just as much as you do. That was the end. No goodbye. No excuse. No promise that everything would make sense. Just one key. One safe deposit box. And even more questions. I folded the letter carefully. Then I looked directly at Ethan. Have you ever been to that bank? He shook his head. No. Did she ever tell you what was inside the box? No. Karen slowly stepped forward. I know about the box. I stared at her. You do? She nodded. Emily asked me to go with her once. What did you see? Nothing. She sighed. She wouldn't let me look inside. Then why were you there? She needed someone to witness her signature. I slipped the tiny key into my pocket. For the first time since the funeral had started, I felt something stronger than grief. Determination. Whatever Emily had hidden in that box had been important enough to protect for years. Maybe it contained old photographs. Maybe legal papers. Maybe answers. Or maybe it held another secret that would change everything all over again. I looked at Ethan. The bank opens at 9 tomorrow morning. He gave a slow nod. I'll be there. I had no idea what waited behind the door of safe deposit box 214. But deep inside, I already knew one thing. The funeral wasn't the end of Emily's story. It was only the beginning. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the photograph Ethan had carried into the church. Emily was smiling at him the same way she smiled at Lily and Noah. That thought hurt more than I could explain. Not because she loved Ethan. He deserved that love. It hurt because she had hidden that part of her heart from us. The next morning, I made breakfast for the kids like I always did. Lily noticed the dark circles under my eyes. Mom, are you sick? I forced a small smile. I'm just tired. She wasn't convinced. Ever since the funeral, she had been watching me closely. Children notice more than adults think. After they left for school, I drove to First Community Bank. Ethan was already waiting outside. He wore a plain gray jacket and held a small backpack. He looked nervous. So am I admitted as I walked up to him. For the first time, we shared a small smile. It didn't erase the pain between us. But it reminded me that neither of us had created this mess. We were both living inside someone else's secret. Inside the bank, a manager greeted us politely. How may I help you? I placed the small key on the counter. My wife passed away 3 days ago. His kind smile faded. I'm very sorry for your loss. She left me this key. He examined it. Safe deposit box 214. He looked at his computer for a moment. I'll need identification. After checking our IDs and several documents, he nodded. Mrs. Bennett left instructions. If she passed away, you and Mr. Ethan Parker were both authorized to open the box together. I looked at Ethan. Emily had planned this very carefully. The manager led us into a quiet room with rows of metal boxes. He unlocked box 214. Then he stepped outside, giving us privacy. For several seconds, neither of us moved. Finally, Ethan slowly pulled the box out. It wasn't very heavy. Inside were only a few things. A thick envelope. A leather journal. A silver necklace. And several old photographs tied together with a blue ribbon. I picked up the envelope first. Across the front, Emily had written, "Read this before anything else." I opened it carefully. Inside was another letter. Her handwriting looked calm, almost peaceful. Rachel and Ethan. If you're reading this together, then you already know the truth about each other. Thank you for coming. I hoped this day would never happen, but I knew I had to prepare for it. I continued reading aloud so Ethan could hear every word. First, I need both of you to understand something. Neither of you is responsible for the choices I made. Those choices belong to me alone. Ethan quietly wiped away a tear. I kept reading. Rachel, you gave me a beautiful family. Ethan, you gave me the chance to keep believing I could still be your mother, even if only a few days each month. I never stopped loving either of you. Silence filled the room. Then I reached for the journal. It was worn around the edges. The first page read. The truth I was too afraid to say. I turned to another page. Every entry had a date. The first one was written 12 years earlier. The day before Emily's first business trip. Tomorrow I'm going to see Ethan for the first time in almost 6 months. Rachel kissed me goodbye tonight. She has no idea where I'm really going. I already hate myself for lying. I slowly turned another page. Today Ethan asked why he can't come visit my house. I told him it wasn't safe yet. He smiled anyway. Children forgive so easily. Another page. Lily lost her first tooth today. Ethan won his school spelling contest. I celebrated both, but never together. I feel like I'm living two different lives. I couldn't stop reading. Every page showed the same battle. Emily wasn't living happily with a secret. She was trapped inside it. Then Ethan quietly spoke. She always cried after she left. I looked at him. What? When she got into her car. He stared at the journal. I watched from the window every time. I remembered something. Emily always came home with red eyes. She blamed allergies. It hadn't been allergies. She had been crying all the way home. Then Ethan picked up the bundle of photographs. We spread them across the table. There were pictures from birthdays, school plays, fishing trips, Christmas mornings. Emily was in every photo. Not every holiday. Not every birthday. But enough to prove she had never stopped visiting him. Then one picture caught my attention. It showed Emily standing beside an older woman. I recognized her immediately. Emily's mother. But they weren't smiling. They looked angry. Behind the picture, someone had written one sentence. The day she threatened to tell Rachel everything. I looked at Ethan. Do you know what this means? He slowly shook his head. No. I turned back to the journal, searching for that date. 3 pages later, I found it. The entry was only 1 paragraph long. But after reading the first sentence, I realized the biggest lie wasn't that Emily had hidden a son. It was who had forced her to keep hiding him. My hands tightened around the journal. I looked at the date again. It matched the day in the photograph. The day Emily had argued with her mother. I took a deep breath and began reading aloud. Today I finally told Mom that I couldn't keep lying to Rachel anymore. I stopped for a second. Karen had been right. Emily really had wanted to tell me. I continued. I said Rachel deserved the truth. She deserved to know Ethan was my son before someone else told her. Ethan stood quietly beside me. Neither of us spoke. The journal continued. Mom became furious. She said if I told Rachel, she would make sure I never saw Ethan again. I looked at Ethan. His face had turned pale. What? I nodded slowly. That's what she wrote. I read the next lines. She reminded me that she and Dad were Ethan's legal guardians. She said they could move away, change their wills, and keep Ethan from me forever. She knew exactly where to hurt me. The room felt colder. Emily hadn't just been hiding a secret. She had been living under a threat. Ethan whispered, Grandma always controlled everything. I looked at him. You knew? He shrugged sadly. I didn't know about you. But I knew she made all the decisions. I turned to another page. I came home tonight and Rachel hugged me. She asked if my trip had gone well. I wanted to tell her everything right there in the kitchen. Instead, I lied again. Tears rolled down my face. I remembered that night. Emily had stood in our kitchen, holding me a little longer than usual. I had thought she simply missed me. Now I understand why. She had almost told me the truth. Almost. But almost had stolen 12 years from our family. I kept reading. Every lie is making the next truth harder to tell. The sentence was underlined twice. The next few pages were filled with guilt. Emily wrote about missing Lily's dance recital because Ethan had been sick with pneumonia. She wrote about leaving Noah's birthday party early because she had promised Ethan she would watch his school concert. She wrote that every choice broke someone's heart. Sometimes mine. Sometimes Ethan's. Always hers. I closed the journal for a moment. I don't know how to feel anymore. Ethan nodded. Me neither. For the first time, I truly looked at him. Not as the stranger who had appeared at my wife's funeral. Not as the secret child. Just as a young man. A young man who had spent years sharing his mother with another family without ever asking for that life. He had lost just as much as I had. Maybe even more. He never got to call Emily every day. He never celebrated Christmas morning with her. He only had pieces of her life. I had the rest. And neither of us had ever known the other existed. Emily's choices had divided us. But they had also hurt both of us. I reached into the box again. The silver necklace caught the light. It was a simple heart-shaped locket. Inside were two tiny pictures. One showed baby Ethan. The other showed baby Lily. There was no picture of Noah. I frowned. That's strange. Ethan leaned closer. Why? Noah was already born when she made this. I looked more carefully. Behind Lily's picture was folded a tiny piece of paper. I carefully unfolded it. Only one sentence was written inside. The third picture is where it belongs. The third picture? Ethan asked. I turned the locket over. There was a hidden latch I hadn't noticed before. I pressed it gently. A secret compartment opened. Inside was a tiny photograph of baby Noah. 3 children. Hidden inside one small locket. Emily had carried all of them close to her heart. I smiled through my tears. She never forgot any of you. Ethan quietly nodded. I know. Then I reached for the last item in the safe deposit box. It was a large sealed envelope. Unlike the others, it wasn't addressed to me. It was addressed to someone else. To be opened by my attorney. I stared at it. An attorney? Emily had never mentioned hiring one. I turned the envelope over. It had already been signed and notarized. Karen hadn't mentioned lawyers. Neither had the letter. I looked at Ethan. I think this has something to do with her will. He frowned. I thought everything would go to you and the kids. So did I. Carefully, I opened the envelope. Inside was a legal document with Emily's signature at the bottom. The first paragraph made my stomach tighten. It wasn't just a letter. It was a sworn statement. And in the very first sentence, Emily accused her own mother of forcing years of lies, manipulation, and blackmail. Then I reached the final page. Written in bold letters was one instruction that changed everything. Deliver this statement to the family attorney immediately after my funeral. I read the last page twice. Then a third time. The words didn't change. Emily had signed every page in front of a notary. This wasn't just a personal letter. It was a legal statement. I looked at Ethan. I think your mother knew this secret wouldn't stay buried forever. He nodded slowly. She was planning for this. I slipped the document back into the envelope as carefully as I could. We're taking this to the attorney today. Neither of us wanted to wait. The bank manager locked the empty safe deposit box, and we walked back into the bright morning sun. The world outside looked completely normal. People were drinking coffee. Children were riding bicycles. Cars passed by without slowing down. It was strange. My whole life had fallen apart, yet everyone else kept moving as if nothing had happened. We drove to the office of Daniel Brooks, the attorney whose name appeared at the bottom of the document. The receptionist looked up as we entered. Good morning. Do you have an appointment? I placed the sealed envelope on her desk. My wife, Emily Bennett, asked us to deliver this after her funeral. The receptionist looked at the name. Her expression changed immediately. Please have a seat. Less than 5 minutes later, a man in his early 60s opened his office door. You must be Rachel. I stood. Yes. He looked at Ethan. And you must be Ethan. We exchanged surprised looks. You knew about him? I asked. Mr. Brooks nodded. Emily made sure I did. He invited us into his office and quietly closed the door. I've been expecting you. My heart beat faster. You knew this day was coming? I hoped it never would, he answered. But Emily wanted everything prepared. He opened a file cabinet and removed a thick folder with Emily's name on it. There are some things you deserve to know. He adjusted his glasses before speaking. About 4 years ago, Emily came to me because she wanted to tell you everything. I looked down. So Karen told me the truth. Yes. What stopped her? Mr. Brooks sighed. Her mother. He opened the folder and showed us several letters. They're all from your mother-in-law. I recognized the handwriting immediately. He handed me the first one. It wasn't friendly. It wasn't loving. It was a threat. If you destroy this family by telling Rachel, you will never see Ethan again. I swallowed hard. The second letter was even worse. Remember who has legal custody. Remember who controls the family estate. Don't test me. There were 6 letters altogether. Each one tried to frighten Emily into staying silent. Ethan stared at them without speaking. Finally, he whispered, Grandma really wrote these? Mr. Brooks nodded sadly. I'm afraid she did. I looked at him. Why didn't Emily fight back? She wanted to. He opened another folder. She actually began the legal process. I frowned. What legal process? To challenge your in-laws' control over Ethan and finally tell the truth. My eyes widened. She was going to end all of this? Yes. But I couldn't finish the sentence. But she died before everything was completed, Mr. Brooks said gently. The room became silent. Emily had finally found the courage. She had finally decided that the truth mattered more than the secret. And then fate had stolen her chance. Mr. Brooks leaned forward. Rachel, there's something else. I wasn't sure my heart could handle another surprise. What? Emily changed her will 8 months ago. I thought I knew her will. You knew the old one. He slid another document across the desk. The new will leaves everything exactly as before. I looked up. I don't understand. You inherit the house, the savings, and the investments. Lily and Noah remain equal beneficiaries. I let out a small breath. Nothing had changed. Then he smiled gently. There is one addition. He looked toward Ethan. Emily created a separate education and housing trust for Ethan. Ethan's eyes filled with tears. It isn't taken from your family's inheritance, Mr. Brooks explained. Emily built it using money she earned from bonuses over the past 12 years. Suddenly, everything made sense. The business bonuses. The extra hours. The careful budgeting. Emily hadn't been hiding money from us. She had been secretly saving for Ethan's future. Mr. Brooks handed Ethan a folder. Your mother wanted you to have this after she was gone. Inside were birthday cards. One for every year he had been alive. Some had never been given to him. Others had little notes attached. Emily had written them anyway. Even during the years when she couldn't always visit. Ethan broke down crying. So, she never forgot. No, Mr. Brooks said softly. Not for a single birthday. As I watched him hold those cards against his chest, my anger began changing. It wasn't disappearing. But it was becoming something else. Emily hadn't been living two happy lives. She had been trapped between two families she loved. Then Mr. Brooks reached into the bottom drawer of his desk. There is one final request Emily left for you. He handed me a folded piece of paper. I unfolded it slowly. It wasn't long. Just one handwritten sentence. Please don't let my children grow up as strangers. They are brother and sister, whether they know it or not. I folded Emily's note with shaking hands. Please don't let my children grow up as strangers. They are brother and sister, whether they know it or not. I read it one more time before placing it back into the envelope. For the first time since the funeral, I wasn't thinking only about the lies. I was thinking about the future. Ethan quietly slipped his birthday cards back into their folder. I don't expect anything, he said softly. I looked at him. What do you mean? I don't expect Lily and Noah to accept me. His voice was calm, but I could hear the sadness hiding behind it. They've had their mom their whole lives. He paused before adding, I only got pieces of her. Those words stayed with me. Pieces. That was exactly what Emily had left all of us. Each of us had only part of her life. None of us had the whole story. Mr. Brooks stood and walked to the window. Emily asked me to give you one piece of advice if this day ever came. He smiled sadly. She said, truth hurts once. Lies hurt every day. I closed my eyes. She had learned that lesson too late. But maybe the rest of us didn't have to. Ethan and I thanked Mr. Brooks and left his office together. The drive home was quiet. Neither of us knew what to say. As we pulled into my driveway, I noticed Lily and Noah playing basketball in the front yard. School had just ended. Lily spotted my car first. She waved. Mom. Then she noticed Ethan getting out of the passenger seat. Her smile faded into confusion. Noah ran over, holding the basketball under one arm. Who's that? I looked at Ethan. He looked terrified. I couldn't blame him. He wasn't just meeting strangers. He was meeting his brother and sister. I took a slow breath. There are some things we need to talk about. We all sat on the back porch. The same porch where I had once found Emily crying in the middle of the night. Now it was my turn to tell a painful truth. I didn't tell them everything. Not yet. They were still children. Some parts could wait until they were older. But I told them the most important part. Ethan is your big brother. Neither of them spoke. Lily looked at Ethan. Then at me. Then back at Ethan again. Noah frowned. I don't understand. I gently explained that before Mommy and I met, she had another baby when she was very young. I told them she loved all three of them. I made sure they understood that. Lily's eyes filled with tears. So, Mommy wasn't trying to replace us? No. Did she love him too? Yes. Did she love us? I reached over and hugged her tightly. More than anything. She cried against my shoulder. Not because she doubted her mother's love. Because she wished she could ask her these questions herself. Noah slowly walked over to Ethan. He looked up at him for a long moment. Then he asked the simplest question of all. Do you like baseball? Ethan blinked. Then he smiled for the first time. Yeah. I'm pretty good. Noah handed him the basketball. Want to play? Ethan looked at me as if asking permission. I nodded. Go ahead. Within minutes, they were laughing together in the driveway. Lily watched quietly before joining them. I sat on the porch steps. Tears rolled down my face. Not because the pain was gone. It wasn't. Emily's lies had broken something inside me. Nothing could change that. Nothing could give us back 12 lost years. Nothing could erase the birthdays, holidays, and family dinners built on secrets. But something beautiful was happening anyway. 3 children who should have known each other years ago were finally meeting. Not because of another lie. Because of the truth. A week later, Karen came to my house. She stood on the porch looking exhausted. I don't expect forgiveness, she said. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I believed she meant it. But some wounds take longer to heal. I appreciate the apology, I answered. But trust has to be earned again. She nodded. I understand. As she walked away, I realized something. Revenge wasn't what I needed. Emily's mother had already lost the daughter she tried so hard to control. Karen had to live with 12 years of silence. And Emily had spent the last years of her life carrying guilt that never let her rest. Life had already delivered its own punishment. The greatest revenge wasn't anger. It was refusing to let the lies continue. That autumn, Ethan came to Lily's school play. A month later, he helped Noah build a treehouse in the backyard. Slowly, awkwardly, carefully. They became a family. Not a perfect one. A real one. Sometimes, I still sit on the back porch after everyone has gone to bed. I think about Emily. I miss her. I get angry with her. I forgive her a little. Then I remember the words she left behind. Truth hurts once. Lies hurt every day. She was right. Our family had lived with lies for 12 long years. But the truth, painful as it was, finally gave us something the lies never could. A chance to become whole again. Before you go, I'd love to hear your opinion. If you were Rachel, after discovering that your wife's business trips for 12 years were actually secret visits to a son she had hidden from you, would you have been able to forgive her after reading the truth she left behind? Or would the years of lies have been too painful to overcome? And what do you think about Emily, Karen, and Emily's mother? Do you believe Emily was trapped by fear and manipulation, or should she have found the courage to tell Rachel the truth years earlier? And was her mother's decision to keep Ethan a secret ever justified, or did those lies end up hurting every member of the family far more than the truth ever would have? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd genuinely love to hear what you would have done. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and subscribe for more emotional family dramas filled with heartbreaking betrayals, hidden family secrets, unexpected reunions, shocking twists, and powerful journeys toward healing and justice. Remember, secrets may protect us for a little while, but they often leave the deepest scars. The strongest families aren't built on perfect lives. They're built on honesty, courage, and the willingness to face the truth, no matter how painful it may be. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next story. The end of the story.